The new camera. Raven set her camera on the store counter and excitedly opened the package of photos. She had received her 35mm camera as a birthday gift, and the package contained the pictures that were developed from her first roll of film. "Oh no," she grumbled as she thumbed through the stack. Some of the pictures were blurry, others were overexposed or missing people's faces. All of them looked pretty disastrous. Stomping her foot, she said, "This camera takes lousy pictures." "Whoa, stop right there," cautioned Mr. Reynolds, owner of the F-Stop photography store. He stepped around the counter and motioned for Raven to hand over the offending photographs. "You're right," he agreed. "Some of these photos are worthless." "See? I told you it's lousy." Mr. Reynolds interrupted Raven before she could finish her sentence. "When it comes to bad photographs, the camera is usually not the culprit," he said. "In fact, the mistakes I see here were made by the photographer." Raven ducked her head to hide her frustration and embarrassment. "Don't be insulted, Raven. You've only been taking pictures for a few days. I've been in this business for over 25 years, and I see the same mistakes made by novice photographers all the time." "Did you read the instructions that came with your camera?" "The front of the box said to just aim and shoot," answered Raven. "I didn't bother with all the directions inside the box because I figured photography couldn't be all that difficult." "Raven, this is a nice camera," Mr. Reynolds said. "It can give you a lot of satisfaction or a lot of heartache, depending on how you use it." Raven was relieved to know that at least her camera had the potential to take better pictures than those she held in her hand. Now she stared expectantly as Mr. Reynolds waiting for him to continue. "There are a few easy steps to taking good pictures," he continued. "First, you have to read the instructions for your camera. People spend a lot of time writing those instructions so you can use your camera quickly and efficiently. Camera manufacturers want you to be educated about their products because they want you to be happy with your purchase. Now, what kind of film did you use?" "Oh, I just ran to the Quick and Serve and grabbed a roll that was on a display carousel." "Was the film defective?" Raven asked hopefully. "The film was fine," Mr. Reynolds answered, "but it was probably designed for outdoor photography, not indoor. You should have used a flash with it so the camera could distinguish faces and capture the clear colors that everyone likes." "I don't know anything about film. How was I supposed to determine which kind was appropriate?" Raven sulked. Mr. Reynolds picked up 3 film boxes at the counter and pointed to each as he described them. "Some types of film are designed for low-light photography, and you can usually tell which ones those are by reading the boxes. Some film is designed for a variety of lighting situations, including both indoor and outdoor settings. But even with this kind of film, a camera may not have enough light to photograph in a given room. That's why you need to use a flash when you're indoors. Bright light situations or outdoor activities with lots of motion call for a different type of film. Again, you can usually find this film by reading the boxes. Choosing the right film is essential for taking good photographs." "What else?" Raven asked. "Well, when you take pictures outdoors, you shouldn't aim your camera toward the sunlight," Mr. Reynolds continued. "Make sure that the sun is at your back, or at least off to the side. If you shoot directly toward the sun, you won't be able to see your subject in the developed photograph." Shuffling through Raven's photographs, Mr. Reynolds selected a particularly horrendous example. "See how you cropped one kid's head out of this photo? I suspect that you weren't trying to exclude him, and I know that you could have easily avoided that mistake by using your viewfinder. Look through your camera and tell me when you see the little box with a light green or orange line that makes the frame." "Hey, mine's green," answered Raven. "That box outlines what will be in each photo. When planning a picture, take a moment to check the box around your subject. If your subject is a person, give him or her plenty of headroom. One of the most common problems I see in pictures is headless people." Mr. Reynolds chuckled at his own joke. Raven was beginning to see her camera a lot differently. "Mr. Reynolds, these aren't complicated steps. What else can you tell me about taking better pictures?" Mr. Reynolds pulled another photo from her pocket. "Look at this group of people you were trying to photograph. See how fuzzy the image is? You obviously weren't standing still when you took this picture. When you take a photo, you must steady yourself. If you can lean against something solid. Make sure you are standing squarely on both legs. Take a deep breath and hold it while you push the shutter button. I feel bad about blaming my camera when my own ignorance was the problem, Raven sighed. What else might keep me from messing up again? Think about balance when you're photographing, answered Mr. Reynolds. Balance is partly what makes a photograph pleasing to the eye. When photographing a landscape, for example, you should move the camera around until you find the most pleasing scene. When photographing people, make sure that the group is balanced in the center of the viewfinder, with everyone's face showing. Mr. Reynolds smiled and walked behind the counter toward a shelf with boxes of film stacked on it. Take comfort in knowing that most people make mistakes when they take their first pictures, he said. Here are 2 rolls of film on the house. You don't have to give me free film, Mr. Reynolds. That's okay, Raven. Go take some better pictures and we'll see what develops next time. Number 1. Which of the following relationships is most similar to the relationship below? Novice, inexperience. A. Amateur to knowledge. B. Beginner to improvement. C. President to power. Or D. Professional to skill. Number 2. Why does Raven go to the f-stop photography store? A. To pick up pictures she took with her new camera. B. To take free photography lessons from Mr. Reynolds. C. To complain about the way f-stop develops pictures. D. To exchange her old camera for a more expensive brand. Number 3. Which of the following relationships is most similar to the relationship below? Culprit is guilty, as A. Convict is to prison. B. Crime is to wrong. C. Evil is to good. D. Offender is to excuse. Number 4. What can the reader conclude from the way Mr. Reynolds and Raven talk to each other? A. Raven resents Mr. Reynolds' advice about taking pictures. B. Raven and Mr. Reynolds have never met before she comes into a store. C. Raven and Mr. Reynolds knew each other before Raven had her pictures developed. D. Mr. Reynolds has little respect for people who have difficulty with their cameras. Number 5. Which sentence is the best summary of the story? A. Mr. Reynolds explains the different types of film to Raven and then gives her free film. B. Raven is upset that her new camera took bad pictures, so Mr. Reynolds teaches her how to use her camera. C. Raven picks up the pictures she took using her first camera, and Mr. Reynolds explains why the pictures did not turn out. D. Mr. Reynolds encourages Raven by telling her that everyone makes photography mistakes at first and gives her new film. Number 6. Which quote from the story supports Mr. Reynolds' claim that Raven should have read the instructions for her camera? A. There are a few easy steps to take good pictures, he continued. B. Don't be insulted, Raven. You've only been taking pictures for a few days. C. It can give you a lot of satisfaction or a lot of heartache, depending on how you use it. D. Camera manufacturers want you to be educated about their products because they want you to be happy with your purchase. 7. From what point of view is this story told? A. First person, limited to Raven. B. First person, limited to the narrator. C. Third person, limited to the narrator. D. Third person, limited to Mr. Reynolds. Number 8. When does Raven ask for more suggestions from Mr. Reynolds? A. After she realizes the steps suggested are not difficult. B. After she receives 2 new rolls of film from the store owner. C. After she reads the instructions that came with her new camera. D. After she returns to the store to pick up her second set of developed pictures. Number 9. Which paragraph provides the most information about choosing the right kind of film? A. Paragraph 9, B. Paragraph 10, C. Paragraph 14, D. Paragraph 16. Number 10. Which word best describes Mr. Reynolds' behavior in this story? A. Disagreeable, B. Extreme, C. Helpful, D. Honorable. Number 11. What could Raven have done to improve her first set of photographs? A. Purchased her camera at f-stop photography, B. Purchased a better camera than the one she had, C. Listened to Mr. Reynolds' suggestion about taking pictures, D. Taken more time to learn about her camera before taking pictures. Number 12. What is one tip Mr. Reynolds gives Raven about taking photographs that is not included in the list on page 13? A. Capture clear colors, B. Use the camera's viewfinder, C. Don't leave your film in a hot car, D. Always store your camera in a case. Number 13. Which phrase does Mr. Reynolds use to let Raven know that he plans to give her 2 rolls of film for free? A. On the house, B. A different type of film, C. Choosing the right film, D. What develops next time. Number 14. In paragraph 17, the word exclude means A. Defeat, B. Keep out, C. Move away, D. Suspect.